Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. No matter what time you're watching this, welcome. And leave a comment. What town are you watching this story from? And hey, if this story popped up for you, it's because it deserves to be heard. So, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any more like this. The sun was just peeking over the horizon when I saw my shadow for the first time in 3 months without looking in a mirror. It was long, skinny, and a little crooked, just like me. It stretched across the dirt ground of the farm, here near Harmony Creek, out in the sticks of Oklahoma. The heat was already starting to weigh on my back, even though it was early. The cattle were huddled under the few trees that were still green. The drought had painted everything yellow and brown. It had been 5 years since Mary left, 5 years of waking up alone in this 3-bedroom house, where I only use one. The other 2 stay closed up, collecting dust and memories. Sometimes I think she left her scent stuck to the walls, but I know it's just my imagination. The coffee was cold in the mug. It always is, because I always forget to drink it while I stand here on the porch, watching the day begin. The crickets were still chirping softly, stubborn, fighting against the heat that was coming. I grabbed my hat and walked to the corral. The cows looked at me with that face of someone waiting for food but didn't moo. Animals know when a person doesn't feel like talking, and I sure didn't. The fence on the back pasture needed fixing for weeks. I always found an excuse to put it off. I'll fix it tomorrow. Next week, when this heat wave passes. Lies. The truth is, I wasn't in a hurry for anything. Time here stretched like old taffy. I walked to the creek that cuts through the farm. The water was low, flowing slowly, almost stopping. The rocks on the bottom were all visible, covered in green slime. I sat in the shade of a tree and took off my hat. The wind blew on my face, warm, bringing the scent of dry grass and cracked earth. That's when I heard the noise. It wasn't an animal sound or the wind. It was different, like someone was walking in the woods, breaking dry branches. I stopped breathing and listened harder. Nothing. Just the creek flowing softly and the buzzing of a fly near my ear. I thought, must be a deer. But something in my chest told me it wasn't. I got up slowly, put my hat on, and walked toward the noise. The woods here are thick, full of thorns and vines. I had to push branches to get through. The sun was higher now, and sweat started to run down my back. I stopped again. Complete silence. That's when I saw it. A footprint in the dry mud, near the edge of the creek. A human footprint. Barefoot, small, female. My heart jumped. I hadn't seen anyone around here in years, besides the gas man Earl, who comes once a month, and the vet when I need him. The farm is far from the main road, at the end of a dirt road that hardly anyone knows. I looked around, more footprints. They came from the woods and followed along the creek bank, staggering. Whoever walked here wasn't doing well. You could tell by the crooked tracks, the marks too deep, like the person was tripping. I followed the footprints upstream slowly, trying not to make noise. The woods got thicker with every step. Branches scratched my arm, thorns poked my shirt, but I kept going, and as I rounded a bend in the creek, I heard it. A low moan of pain. The blood ran cold in my veins. Someone was there, hurt, needing help. I didn't think twice. I pushed the branches harder and ran toward the sound. What I saw made me stop in my tracks, my heart pounding like a drum at a county fair. A young woman was sitting by the creek, her feet in the water. Skinny, young, couldn't have been more than 20. Her brown hair stuck to her sweaty face. Her clothes, a simple, faded blue dress, all torn and dirty. Her feet were bleeding. But that wasn't what made me stand there like a statue. It was the way she was holding her belly swollen, round, like someone expecting a baby. And from the low moans coming from her mouth, the baby was in a hurry to get here. "Ma'am," I called softly without moving. "Are you okay?" She turned her face toward me, her eyes wide, full of fear and pain. For a second I thought she was going to try to run. But then another moan came, stronger, and she doubled over, clutching her belly with both hands. "Please," she said, her voice weak like a dried leaf. "Help me." And that's when everything changed. The 5 years of loneliness, the silence of the empty house, the meaningless routine, it all turned to dust. Because there, by the creek, was someone who needed me more than I needed my pain. Without thinking, I took off my hat and walked slowly toward her. "Easy now," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I'm going to help you." I approached her slowly, like approaching an injured bird. Any sudden movement and she might try to run, even in the state she was in. Her eyes followed me, suspicious, but also full of a hope that hurt to see. "What's your name?" I asked, crouching down about 6 feet away. Luciana," she answered between moans. "But everyone calls me Lou." "Lou, I'm John. I live near here, on that farm." I pointed toward the house even though I knew she couldn't see it because of the woods. "How long have you been feeling these pains?" She closed her eyes tight and doubled over again. I counted the seconds, almost a full minute of contraction. When it passed, she was even paler. "Since yesterday morning," she whispered. "But it's gotten much worse now, early this morning." My God, almost 24 hours of labor alone in the woods. How was this girl still alive? "Lou, listen carefully to what I'm going to tell you." I tried to keep my voice calm, but my heart was racing. "That baby's coming soon. You can't stay here by the creek. I need to get you to my house." "No," she said quickly, shaking her head. "I can't go anywhere. They'll find me." "Who's going to find you?" Her eyes filled with tears, but she didn't answer. Another contraction came, stronger than the others. This time she screamed, a scream that echoed through the woods and made the birds fly away, startled. When it passed, she was panting like a dog in the sun. "Lou, look at me." I waited for her to open her eyes. "It doesn't matter who's looking for you. Now the priority is saving you and that baby. We can talk about the rest later." She looked at me for a time that seemed eternal. I saw in her eyes the same fear I saw in Mary's eyes when the cancer started to hurt too much. The fear of trusting, of giving yourself into someone's hands when you've already lost faith in the world. "You promise you won't turn me into them?" "I promise." I didn't even know who them were, but the promise came out of my mouth before I even thought. Some things you just know in your heart are right, even without understanding the details. I moved a little closer and held out my hand. She hesitated, but finally accepted my help to get up. She was lighter than a child, just skin and bones and belly. When she stood up, I saw that she could barely keep her balance. "I'll carry you in my arms," I said. "You don't have to. I can walk. Lou, you can barely stand, and that road to the house is full of holes and rocks." As if her body wanted to prove I was right. Another contraction came. She grabbed my arm with so much force that it left a mark on my skin. This time, it was different. Longer, more intense, and in the end, when she managed to breathe again, she said something that chilled my blood. "I think my water broke." I looked down. A puddle of liquid mixed with blood was forming on the ground. The baby really was in a hurry. Without asking permission, I picked her up in my arms. She weighed nothing. It felt like I was carrying air. I started walking as fast as I could without tripping on the branches and holes in the path. "John?" she said softly, her head resting on my chest. "Yeah? If I die, will you take care of my child?" I stopped walking for a second. "Nobody's going to die. Not you, not the baby. But if I die..." "Lou, stop talking nonsense. You're young. You're strong. Everything's going to be okay." But inside, I was terrified. It had been 5 years since I dealt with any emergency. Since Mary died, my life had become a routine without surprises, without shocks, without anything to take me out of my comfort zone. And now, out of nowhere, there was a woman about to give birth in my arms, running from someone she didn't even want to say who it was. We got to the edge of the pasture fence. I had to put her down to open the gate, but the moment I let go, she doubled over again. The contraction was so strong that she fell to her knees on the ground. "I can't take it anymore," she cried. "I can't take it anymore, John." Yes, you can. We're almost there. I picked her up again and crossed the pasture, almost running. The cattle stopped grazing and watched us pass, as if they knew something important was happening. The sun was already high, and the heat made the sweat run into my eyes, but I couldn't stop. The house appeared after the top of the hill. I'd never been so happy to see those white walls and the red roof. I ran up the steps of the porch 2 at a time and kicked the door open with my foot. I took her straight to Mary's room. It had been closed for years, but I always kept it clean, for a reason I didn't even understand. I put her on the bed and ran to get clean towels, warm water, and anything else I remembered seeing in the movies. When I got back, she was clutching the headboard, breathing like a raging bull. "The contractions are coming every 2 minutes," she said. "Do you know anything about this stuff?" My mom was a midwife. Before she died, she taught me a little, at least one piece of good news in the middle of this hurricane. What do? Heat up plenty of water, get clean cloths, and another contraction cut her off in the middle of the sentence when it passed, and pray that everything goes okay. I ran to the kitchen. I put water on the stove, looked for more towels in the closet, washed my hands with soap until they were raw. When I got back to the room, she was in a different position, squatting on the edge of the bed. "John, the baby's coming. Now." The blood drained from my head. This was it. No doctor, no hospital, nothing. It was just me, her, and a child who wanted to be born in the middle of nowhere. "Tell me what to do," I said, trying to sound calmer than I was. "Stay there in front. When I tell you, you're going to see the baby's head. Then you hold it carefully and—" She couldn't finish. The scream that came out of her throat echoed through the whole house and sent shivers down my spine. When the scream stopped, I saw it. The baby's head was appearing. "It's coming," I said, more to myself than to her. "It's really coming." "Hold the head," she ordered through clenched teeth. "Carefully, John. Very carefully." My hands were shaking like leaves in the wind. I'd never held anything so small and fragile in my life. The little head was warm, wet, more delicate than a bird's egg. Now what? Now wait for the next push. When it comes, pull the baby out slowly to the side, never up. The next contraction was the strongest of all. Lou screamed as if they were ripping her soul from her body, but this time it didn't stop there. I felt the baby sliding into my hands, coming out all at once, a wet, bluish body that wasn't moving. For a moment, the world stopped. The baby wasn't crying. "Why isn't he crying?" I asked, with panic taking over everything. Lou was faint, but she still managed to whisper, "Turn him upside down, pat his back, gently but firmly." I did what she said. 1 pat, 2, 3, nothing. "It's not working," I said, feeling the tears coming. "Put your finger in his mouth. Clean out anything that's in there." I stuck my little finger in the baby's little mouth. Some mucus came out, but still, silence. That's when Lou, gathering a strength I don't know where it came from, held out her hand. "Give him to me." I placed the baby on her chest. She put her mouth on his little face and blew, very slowly, as if she were passing her own life into that tiny body. Once, twice. On the 3rd time, the miracle happened. A thin, high-pitched cry, the most beautiful sound I'd ever heard in my entire life. The baby moved, opened his eyes, and cried with all his might. Lou collapsed on the pillow, smiling and crying at the same time. "It's a boy," she whispered. I sat on the floor, my legs wobbly and my heart still racing. I looked at that scene, the exhausted woman holding her newborn son, both of them alive, both of them saved, and I felt something I hadn't felt in 5 years. Purpose. For the first time since Mary died, I had served for something other than taking care of cattle and counting the days passing. "What are you going to name him?" I asked. Lou looked at the baby with a tenderness that made me want to cry. "Miguel," she said. "The name of my grandfather, the only man who was good to me in my whole life." I got up, grabbed a clean towel, and helped her wrap little Miguel. He was getting pinker, warming up, looking more like a person and less like a broken doll. "Lou," I said, sitting on the edge of the bed, "now you need to tell me, who are these people who are looking for you? What are you running from?" She closed her eyes, hugged the baby to her chest, and took a deep breath. "It's a long story, John. I've got time, and it's an ugly story. I've seen ugly things in my life." She looked me in the eyes as if she were trying to gauge whether I was man enough to handle the truth. After a while, she started talking. "My stepfather, he was no good. He did things to me since I was a little girl. My mom knew, but she was afraid of him. When she died last year, it got worse. My fist clenched on its own. I was already imagining what was coming. When I found out I was pregnant, he said it was my problem, that I had to disappear because otherwise I would ruin the family's reputation. But I knew he wasn't going to let me go so easily. He was going to come after me. He was going to bring me back to do more harm. That's why you ran alone through the woods. I walked for 3 days, eating fruit I found along the way, drinking river water. When the pain started, I thought I was going to die alone like an animal. I was quiet for a while, digesting that story. It wasn't just a lost girl I had found by the creek. It was a child who had become a woman too soon, who had gone through things that no person should ever go through, and who had given birth alone in the middle of nowhere because she had no one else in the world. Does he know where you are? I don't know, I don't think so, but he'll look. He always said I was his property, that I had no right to go anywhere without his permission. I got up from the bed and walked to the window. Outside, the afternoon was coming and the heat was starting to let up. I thought of Mary, how she always told me that God puts people in our lives at the right time, for the right reason. I never really understood what she meant, but now it was starting to make sense. "Lou," I said, still looking out the window, "you and Miguel are going to stay here as long as you need to. I can't accept that. I've already caused you too much trouble." I turned to look at her. "I'm not asking for your opinion. I'm telling you how it's going to be. You're going to stay here until you're strong again, until the baby's grown up a bit, until you decide what you want to do with your life. And if that stepfather shows up around here, he's going to have to go through me first." Her eyes filled with tears again, but this time they were different tears. Tears of relief. "Why are you doing this? You don't even know me." I thought of the right answer, but in the end, I told the truth. Because this house hasn't had any life in it for 5 years. For 5 years, I've been waking up every day without knowing what I'm living for. And maybe you too are the answer I've been waiting for without knowing it. That afternoon, while Lou slept with Miguel nestled in her arms, I sat on the porch and watched the sun setting on the horizon. The farm seemed different. The silence wasn't one of loneliness anymore. It was the silence of someone waiting for a new story to begin. And deep down, for the first time in a long time, I felt something like hope. The first few days were a whole new world for me. I would wake up in the middle of the night with Miguel's crying echoing through the house, a sound I hadn't heard in over 20 years since my younger brother was born. At first, it scared me. I jumped out of bed thinking something bad had happened, but then I remembered it was just hunger or a dirty diaper or the normal way a baby asks for attention. Lou was still weak. She was losing a lot of blood after the delivery, and I could see that she was trying not to show the pain, but her eyes didn't lie. Every time she got up, she held onto the wall or the edge of the furniture. Every time she breastfed Miguel, she closed her eyes and took a deep breath, like she was concentrating on not passing out. "You need to rest more," I said one morning, when I found her in the kitchen trying to make coffee. "I can't just lie around. You've already done too much for us." She stirred the coffee with one hand and held Miguel with the other. "I need to help with something. Lou, it's been 4 days since you gave birth. 4 days. My neighbor, Mrs. Henderson, stayed in bed for 2 weeks when she had her last kid. "I'm not Mrs. Henderson. No, you're stubborn." She smiled for the first time since she arrived. A small, tired smile, but one that lit up her whole face. My mom always said I took after my grandpa Miguel, headstrong as an oak stump. I took the spoon from her hand and finished stirring the coffee. "Then it's going to be like this. You take care of Miguel, I take care of both of you, and I won't take no for an answer." In the days that followed, I created a routine that I didn't even know I needed. I woke up early, as always, but now I had a reason besides habit. I checked to see if they were okay, made coffee, left sliced fruit on the table for Lou to eat during the day. I went out to take care of the cattle, but I came back every couple of hours to make sure everything was all right. The house came alive in a way that scared me and made me happy at the same time. Smell of warm milk, little clothes drying on the line, that comforting sound of people breathing in another room. At night, when Lou sang softly to put Miguel to sleep, I would sit on the porch pretending to read old newspapers just to listen. It was music without music, a lullaby she made up on the spot. "Sleep, Miguel, sleep well. Your mother is here. Sleep, Miguel, sleep well. Tomorrow the sun will smile." Her voice was sweet, a little hoarse, full of a tenderness that hurt to hear. Sometimes she cried in the middle of the song, softly, thinking I couldn't hear, but I heard everything, and I understood. It was crying of fear, of gratitude, of relief, all mixed into one. One afternoon, when I came back from the pasture earlier because one of the cows was limping, I found Lou sitting on the kitchen floor with Miguel in her arms, crying. "What's wrong?" I asked, already imagining the worst. "He won't stop crying," she sobbed. "He hasn't stopped for 2 hours. I've already fed him, changed him, done everything. I think I'm doing something wrong." I sat on the floor next to her. Miguel was red from crying so much, his fists clenched, all curled up. "Let me try." She hesitated, but ended up handing me the baby. It was the first time I'd held him since the day he was born. So small he fit in both hands, so light he seemed like he was going to fly away. I held him against my chest and started doing something I didn't even know I remembered. That gentle rocking that my mom used to do with me when I was a kid and couldn't sleep. Back and forth, slowly, whispering softly, "It's okay, little one. It's okay. Everything's all right." The crying gradually subsided. In 5 minutes, Miguel was asleep on my chest, breathing peacefully. Lou looked at me like I had done magic. "How did you do that?" "I don't know. I think he just wanted a little peace and quiet." "It's not just that." She wiped her eyes with her sleeve. "You have a way with kids. I've never had a kid. You don't need to have a kid to have a father's heart." The sentence hung in the air between us. A father's heart. I had never thought of myself that way. I always thought that fatherhood was something that happened after the wedding, the house, the savings. I never imagined it could be just this, wanting to protect, wanting to care, wanting a child to grow up safe and happy. "Lou," I said, still holding Miguel, "can I ask you something kind of personal?" "Sure." "Have you thought about what you're going to do when you're well? I mean, where you're going to live, how you're going to manage with the baby?" She looked down and fidgeted with her fingers. "I think about it all the time, but I don't know. I've never lived alone. I've never worked outside the home. My mom died when I was still too young to learn those things. And then your stepfather wouldn't let you." "Yeah. He said women didn't need to know anything besides cooking and taking care of the house, that the world out there was too dangerous for me." I was quiet for a while, watching Miguel sleep on my chest. That child was going to need a lot more than milk and a clean diaper. He was going to need school, clothes, medicine when he got sick. He was going to need a future, and Lou, as strong and determined as she was, couldn't give him all that alone. "Would you like to stay here?" The words came out of my mouth before I really thought about it. Lou looked up, surprised. "What do you mean?" "Stay here on the farm, live here, with Miguel." "John, I can't accept charity." "It's not charity. I looked for the right words. It's partnership. You take care of the house, the food, the things I don't know how to do right. I take care of you two, of the support, of the protection. Everyone wins. But what if my stepfather finds out where I am? Then he'll have to answer to me. She looked at me for a long time, as if she was trying to find the catch in my proposal. Why would you do that? You don't know me at all. I could be a bad person. I could lie. I could bring trouble to your life. Lou, you've already brought trouble to my life. Her face closed up. You've brought life to my life, I finished. I've been living like a ghost in this house for 5 years. I wake up, take care of the cattle, eat, sleep, and the next day I do it all again, like a broken machine. You and Miguel reminded me that I'm still human. Her eyes filled with tears again. What if it doesn't work out? What if you get tired of us? What if it does work out? What if we become a real family? The word family echoed through the kitchen. Family. Something I'd lost when Mary died. Something Lou had never really had. Something Miguel was going to need to grow up right. I need to think. Think. But while you're thinking, stay. There's no hurry to decide anything. That night, after Lou put Miguel to sleep, we sat on the porch. She in a chair, me on the step, both of us looking at the stars that shone brighter than normal. The heat of the day had passed, and a soft breeze brought the scent of grass and damp earth. "John," she said softly. "Can I tell you something?" "Sure." "When I was by the creek with the labor pains, I thought I was going to die. Not out of fear, you know." "I really thought so. I felt like I was leaving." I stopped rocking in the chair and paid attention. And then I started praying, not those church prayers, full of pretty words. I started talking to God like I talk to you now. I said, "God, if I'm going to die, let it be after my son is born. Let him at least have a chance to live." She stopped to take a deep breath, and then I said something I don't even know where it came from. "But if I'm going to live, send someone good to help me. Someone who won't hurt me. Someone who understands that I just want to take care of my son in peace." I turned to look at her. "And you think I'm the answer to your prayer?" "I'm sure of it." We were silent for a while. Far away, an owl hooted. Even further away, a car passed on the main road, the sound of the engine disappearing into the distance. "Lou, can I ask you a question now?" "Sure." "Are you afraid of me?" The question came out more directly than I wanted, but I needed to know. After everything she had been through with her stepfather, after so much evil done by a man, it was natural that she would be suspicious. At first I was. Her honesty hurt me and relieved me at the same time. "Adue," I thought, "another man wanting something in return for help. And now? Now I see you playing with Miguel. I see you making food for me without me asking. I see you going out in the rain just to get a fruit that I mentioned I was craving." She smiled. "I don't think bad men do those things. Bad men don't do those things. But I also see something else." "What?" "I see that you're afraid of me too." Now it was her turn to catch me off guard. "Afraid of what?" "Afraid of getting attached. Afraid of suffering again if I leave. Afraid of becoming a family with me and Miguel, and then losing everything again." The woman was smart. She had put her finger on a wound that I didn't even know was open. "Maybe," I admitted. "John, I'm not Mary. I know. I'm not going to die of cancer. I'm not going to leave you alone because of illness." "How do you know about Mary?" "You talk about her in your sleep. In the first few nights when I was in her room, I heard you talking to yourself in the next room, saying sorry, saying you miss her, saying you couldn't save her. I felt naked, exposed. I never knew I talked about Mary in my sleep." "What else did you hear?" "I heard you crying, softly, but crying." She got up from the chair and came to sit on the step next to me. "And I understood that you're not helping me just out of kindness. You're helping me because you need to save someone. Because you couldn't save her." Her words were accurate as a knife, but they didn't hurt. They were true, and the truth sometimes relieves more than a pretty lie. "You're right," I said. at least in part. And the other part? The other part is that you two saved me too. I was dying little by little, Lou. Every day, a little piece. In a few more years, there wouldn't be anything left of me. She put her hand on my arm. The first time she had touched me since the day of the delivery. So we saved each other. Yeah, I think so. That night before going to sleep, I heard Lou singing to Miguel again. But the song was different. Sleep, Miguel, sleep well. Your father is here. Sleep, Miguel, sleep well. Our family will smile your father. She had said your father, not your mother, as if Miguel were our son, not just hers, as if I were already part of that story. I lay in my bed, which was still the same as always, but which now seemed different, and for the first time in 5 years, I fell asleep, smiling. The next day, I woke up to the smell of cake in the air. I left the room and found Lou in the kitchen with Miguel in her arms, stirring a yellow batter in a big bowl. "Good morning," she said, smiling. "I hope you like cornbread." "I love it, but you didn't have to." "I wanted to thank you. And also to start showing that I know how to take care of a house." We had breakfast together, the three of us, me and Lou talking about the weather, about the plans for the cattle, about small and normal things. Miguel sleeping in the makeshift crib I made with a wooden box and some blankets, as if we had always been like this, as if family was the most natural thing in the world, and maybe it was. 2 weeks later, Lou still hadn't given an official answer about staying on the farm. But she wasn't talking about leaving anymore either. Little by little, her things, which wasn't much, just the clothes she brought in the bundle, were spreading around the house. A dress on the clothesline, a bar of soap in the bathroom, an old book on the living room table. Miguel was growing visibly. He was already opening his eyes for longer, already trying to follow us with his gaze. When he cried, Lou and I looked at each other automatically, in a silent communication. "I'll go," or "you go," or like real parents. It was on a Saturday afternoon that everything changed. I was fixing the fence at the back when I heard the sound of the engine. A car coming up the dirt road that leads to the farm. It wasn't a day to receive visitors. Mrs. Henderson always warned me before coming, so did the vet. The gas delivery guy came only once a month, and he had come the week before. My heart jumped. I dropped the hammer and ran to the house. Lou was on the porch with Miguel in her arms, looking in the direction of the sound. Her face had turned white. "It's him," she whispered. "I know it's him." 2 cars came up the hill and stopped in the yard. A black car, kind of old, and another smaller white one. From the black car, a big strong man got out with a mean look on his face. From the white car, 2 other men got out, younger ones. The big man looked straight at Lou and smiled, a smile that had nothing happy about it. "Hi, Luciana. Did you miss your daddy?" I felt the blood boil in my veins. That was the stepfather, the man who had abused a child for years, the man Lou had run from through the woods, risking her life and the babies. "You're not her father," I said, coming down the steps of the porch slowly. "And who are you, old man?" Old man. The word hit me like a slap in the face. But I didn't show it. "I own this land, and you're trespassing on my property. I didn't come to argue with you. I came to get what's mine." He pointed at Lou. "That girl ran away from home taking something that doesn't belong to her." I looked at Lou. She was trembling, clutching Miguel against her chest. "What thing?" "The son. It's my son she's holding." The revelation hit me like a punch in the gut. I knew Lou had been abused by her stepfather, but I hadn't put 2 and 2 together. Miguel was the son of the very monster who was standing there on my porch, demanding the child back. "The baby stays with his mother," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "The mother comes with me, and the son too." "Lou," I said, without taking my eyes off the man. "Do you want to go with him?" "No," she said so softly, I almost didn't hear her. "Did you hear that? She doesn't want to go." The stepfather laughed, a disgusting laugh full of malice. "She doesn't have a choice. She's underage. She's under my responsibility." She has a son to take care of. My son. A child born of rape isn't a son, it's a crime. The man's face changed. The smile disappeared and his eyes turned dangerous. Watch your words, old man. You don't know who you're messing with. I know exactly who I'm messing with. I took a step toward him, with a coward who abuses children, with a criminal who thinks women are property. That's when I saw he had a gun in his waistband, and that's when I knew the day was going to end very differently than it had begun. Time stopped when I saw the gun in his waistband. It wasn't a small revolver, no. It was a big pistol, the kind the cops use. The leather of the holster was worn, as if it was used frequently. The man realized I had seen it and smiled again, running his hand over the gun in a gesture that hid nothing. Now, do you understand how this conversation works? He said, getting closer to the porch. Behind me, I heard Lou sob softly. Miguel started to cry, as if he felt his mother's fear. Lou, go inside, I said without taking my eyes off the stepfather. She's not going anywhere, the man growled. Luciana, get down here now and bring me my son. He's not your son, Lou said, her voice trembling but firm. A son comes from love. That's just a crime you committed against me. The man's face turned red with anger. You little bitch. You still have the nerve to talk to me like that after everything I've done for you. I gave you a house, food, clothes on your back. You gave me suffering, Lou shouted back, and I had never heard her shout before. Since I was 12 years old, hurting me. My mother died of grief because of you. Your mother died because she was weak. Just like you're going to be if you don't stop this nonsense and come with me right now. That's when one of the goons moved. He was younger, maybe 25, and had the face of someone who had done bad things in his life. He took 2 steps in my direction, but I raised my hand. Stop right there, son. Don't take another step. Or what, old-timer? I looked around quickly. The situation was bad. 3 men, at least 1 gun that I knew of, and me alone to protect Lou and the baby. But I couldn't show fear. Guys like that only respected strength. Or you're going to have to kill me before you lay a hand on her, I said, and I felt that every word came out loaded with truth. The stepfather gave a dry laugh. You're crazy if you think I'm going to kill someone because of a tramp like her. Then take your goons and get off my land, not before I take what's mine. That's when Lou came down the steps and stood next to me. She was still holding Miguel, who was crying harder now, but her chin was raised, her eyes dry. All the fragility of the last few days had disappeared. In its place was a woman with the courage of a lioness. I'm not yours, she said, looking directly into her stepfather's eyes. I never was, and my son isn't yours either. You can kill me, but I'm not going back to your house. Oh yeah. The man pulled the pistol from his holster slowly, savoring the fear he saw in our eyes. Let's see if you don't change your mind. But instead of pointing the gun at Lou, he pointed it at me. I'm going to count to 3. If you don't come with me, this old man is going to be full of holes. The barrel of the pistol seemed huge, pointed at my chest. I felt the cold sweat run down my back, but I didn't move. 1. Lou grabbed my arm. John. No. I'll go with him. You won't. No. 2. His finger was on the trigger. I saw that he was serious. He was crazy enough to pull it. He was going to kill an innocent man just to show he could. Lou, take Miguel and run inside, I whispered. I'm not leaving you. 3! The shot echoed through the surrounding hills. But it wasn't the stepfather's pistol that fired. It was a 12-gauge shotgun, fired into the air, that made us all look in the direction of the road. Mrs. Henderson was getting out of her Jeep, with the shotgun smoking in her hands and a mean look on her face that I had never seen before. Behind her came her husband, Mr. Henderson, and their oldest son, Marcus, who must have been about 30 and was strong as a bull. What's going on here? Mrs. Henderson asked, reloading the shotgun with quick, precise movements. The stepfather lowered the pistol, but didn't put it away. It's none of your business, Mom. It's a family matter. Family? Mrs. Henderson gave a humorless laugh. I've known John for 15 years. I know he doesn't have any family besides his wife who died, and I also know that family men don't point guns at other people. The girl there is my stepdaughter. She ran away from home and is causing trouble. Well, isn't that a coincidence? Mrs. Henderson walked closer without lowering the shotgun. I stopped by the Harmony Creek Sheriff's Department the day before yesterday. I talked to the sheriff. He mentioned that he was looking for a man who was abusing his underage stepdaughter. Said he had received an anonymous tip. The stepfather's face changed completely. The blood drained from his face. I don't know what you're talking about. You don't? Mr. Henderson spoke for the first time, taking his cell phone out of his pocket. Then I'm going to call the sheriff right now. Let him decide whether he knows or not. Wait a minute. No, you wait a minute. Mrs. Henderson pointed the shotgun directly at the man's chest. My granddaughter is the same age as that girl there. If someone did to her what you did to your stepdaughter, I'd kill the bastard myself. The stepfather looked at Lou, then at me, then at the neighbors who had arrived. The situation had turned completely. Now it was them 3 against 4, and 2 of the 4 were armed. This isn't over, he growled. Yes, it is, Marcus said, taking a step forward. He was tall, broad, with hands the size of shovels. And I'm going to give you some free advice. Get out of here, fast. Because if I see you near this farm again, or near Lou, you're going to get to know the bottom of the creek. The 3 men looked at each other. They were at a disadvantage, and they knew it. The stepfather put the pistol away and spat on the ground. You don't know who you're messing with. And you don't know who you're messing with, Mr. Henderson retorted. This is the countryside, son. We take care of things our way. And our way isn't very nice to those who mess with women and children. They went back to the cars, muttering under their breath. But before getting into the black car, the stepfather turned to Lou one last time. You can run to the ends of the earth, Luciana. I'll always find you. And when I do, you're going to pay for this humiliation. You won't, no, Mrs. Henderson shouted back, because if you come back here, you won't leave alive. The cars went down the road, kicking up red dust. We all stood still, watching until they disappeared around the bend. Only when the sound of the engines disappeared completely was I able to breathe right again. Lou collapsed against my chest, crying loudly for the first time since she arrived. Miguel cried along, frightened by all that tension. I hugged them both, feeling my legs wobbly with adrenaline. It's over, I whispered in her ear. It's over, Lou. It's not over, she cried. You heard what he said. He'll be back. He'll find me. Not if I can help it. Mrs. Henderson came over and put her hand on Lou's shoulder. Honey, you're home now, and here we protect our own. That's when it dawned on me. The neighbors hadn't shown up by chance. Someone had warned them. Someone had seen the cars coming up and suspected something. How did you know we needed help? I asked. Marcus was moving cattle on the road when he saw those cars coming up here, Mr. Henderson explained. Said he didn't like the look of the men. He came running to warn us. And they did well, if it weren't for you. Don't think about that, Mrs. Henderson interrupted. The important thing is that now we know the situation, and we'll keep an eye out. We all went inside the house. Mrs. Henderson made coffee. Mr. Henderson and Marcus checked the windows and doors, making sure everything was well locked. Lou sat on the living room sofa, still trembling, trying to get Miguel to stop crying. Lou, Mrs. Henderson said, sitting down next to her. I need to ask you some questions, honey, to understand exactly what's going on. Lou told the whole story, since she was little. The abuse, the pregnancy, the escape through the woods, the birth by the creek. Mrs. Henderson listened in silence, but I saw the anger growing in her eyes with every detail. This man needs to go to jail, she said when Lou finished. He has a pistol. He has goons. Who's going to arrest him? The police, the justice system. Mrs. Henderson, I said. "You know how these things work around here. A man with money and a gun doesn't go to jail easily, and while he's free, Lou is in danger. Then what are you going to do?" I looked at Lou, who was burping Miguel with mechanical movements, lost in her own thoughts. "We're going to get married," I said. Everyone looked at me surprised, including Lou. "John, if we're married, he can't claim you're his stepdaughter. He can't say he has any rights over you or Miguel. And if he tries anything, he'll be messing with my son and my wife." "But," Lou started, "it doesn't have to be a marriage of love. It can just be on paper. To protect you both." Silence took over the room. Only the sound of Miguel making little noises at his mother's breast could be heard. "And if I accept," Lou asked softly, "would it be a real marriage or just on paper?" Her question caught me off guard. I looked into her eyes and saw something I couldn't identify. Hope, fear, desire. It would be whatever you wanted it to be. "And you? What would you like it to be?" I felt my face heat up. Mrs. Henderson, Mr. Henderson, and Marcus pretended they weren't paying attention, but it was obvious they were. "Lou, you know I like you. A lot. And Miguel too. You two have brought life to this house. You've brought meaning to my life. But I don't want you to marry me just out of fear, just to protect yourself." "What if it's not just for that?" "What do you mean?" She passed Miguel to Mrs. Henderson's arms and came to sit closer to me. "John, do you think I'm blind? Do you think I don't see the way you look at me? The way you take care of us both as if we were the most important thing in the world? Lou, let me talk. Do you think I don't see that when you hold Miguel? Your eyes shine like a real father? That when you come back from the pasture and find me in the kitchen, you smile before you even say good morning?" My heart was beating so hard that I was sure everyone could hear it. I've never had that in my life, John. I've never had a man who looked at me with affection, who treated me like a person, not a thing, who caressed my son without expecting anything in return. "Where are you going with this?" "I'm going to say yes. Yes. Yes, I want to marry you, and not just on paper. I want to because you make me feel like I'm worth something. I want to because Miguel needs a real father, and I want to because—" She hesitated, her cheeks turning red. "Because I think I'm falling in love with you." The world stopped again, but this time, not out of fear, out of joy. "Are you sure?" "I am. And you?" I looked at her. Her brown eyes shining, her light brown hair falling on her shoulder, her smile timid but sincere. I looked at Miguel, who was sleeping peacefully in Mrs. Henderson's arms. I thought of the house that had come to life, of the mornings that were no longer silent, of the nights that were no longer empty. "I'm sure too." Mrs. Henderson started crying with joy. Mr. Henderson clapped. Marcus laughed and said, "About time." It was about time we had a wedding around here. But the joy didn't last long. Because in the middle of the celebration, we heard the noise again, car engine coming up the road. We all tensed up. Marcus ran to the window and looked outside. "It's them," he said, his voice serious. "They're back, and they brought more people." My blood ran cold. Now there were 5 cars coming up the road. 5 cars full of men who came with a thirst for revenge. "Lou, take Miguel and go to the back room," I said, already getting up. "If a shootout starts, lie on the floor and don't get up for anything. I'm not leaving you." "Yes, you are. Your son needs you alive." Mrs. Henderson took Lou by the arm. "Come on, honey. John's right." They went to the back of the house. I, Mr. Henderson, and Marcus positioned ourselves on the porch. Mrs. Henderson came back with another shotgun. "John," she said, "do you have a gun?" "I have an old shotgun in the bedroom." "Go get it. Fast." I ran to the bedroom and grabbed my father's shotgun, which had been stored in the closet for years. I checked to see if it was loaded. It was. When I got back to the porch, the 5 cars were already stopping in the yard. 15 men got out. All armed, all with mean looks on their faces. The stepfather came forward, smiling again. "Changed your mind, old man?" Or are you going to want to do this the hard way? Mr. Henderson took a step forward. I already told you to get out of here. And I already told you that I'm not leaving without what's mine. That's when Mrs. Henderson raised the shotgun and aimed at the stepfather's chest. Then you're going to have to kill us all, because Lou isn't leaving here. If that's how you want it. The stepfather signaled to his men. They all raised their weapons at the same time. It was 15 against 4. The odds weren't good, but before anyone could pull any trigger, a new noise cut through the air. Police siren, lots of sirens, coming in our direction. The stepfather looked at his goons, then at us, then at the road where the noise was approaching. Son of a... He started but didn't finish the sentence. In less than 2 minutes, 3 Harmony Creek Sheriff patrol cars came up the road and surrounded the invaders' cars. 8 deputies got out, all armed, all pointing their weapons at the 15 men who had come to threaten me. "Weapons on the ground!" the sergeant shouted. "All of you, now!" There was no way around it. Even being more numerous, the goons weren't going to shoot at the police. One by one, they put their weapons on the ground and raised their hands. The stepfather was the last. He looked at me with a hatred that chilled my blood. "This isn't over," he said, putting the pistol on the ground. "Yes, it is," I said back. "It's over now." While the deputies handcuffed the 15 men, the sergeant came to talk to me. "Are you John Silva Medeiros?" "I am." "We received a report of a threat with a firearm. Was it you who called it in?" I looked at Mrs. Henderson, who smiled and shook her head no. "No, Sergeant, it wasn't me." "Then who was it?" That's when Lou appeared at the door of the house with Miguel in her arms. "It was me," she said. "I called on John's cell phone when you were talking on the porch." I looked at her, surprised. "When?" "When you went to get the shotgun." I took the cell phone that was on the table in the bedroom and called 911. I said there were 15 armed men threatening a family. The woman was smarter than I thought. The sergeant approached her. "Are you Luciana Maria dos Santos?" "I am." "You've been reported missing by your family since you disappeared 3 weeks ago." My heart jumped again. Were they going to take her away? "Sergeant," I said, "she didn't run away from home. She escaped a rapist. That's what we're going to find out." He looked at the stepfather, who was being placed in one of the patrol cars. "There's already an investigation underway against this man. If the complaint is confirmed, he's going to be locked up for a long time." Lou approached the sergeant. "Can I make the formal complaint now?" "You can, and you should, miss. You'll have to come with us to the Harmony Creek Sheriff's Department to give a statement." "And after? Will I have to go back to his house?" "No, if the statement confirms what we're suspecting. And considering that you're of age and have a son to raise, no one can force you to live where you don't want to." Lou looked at me. "Can I come back here after the statement?" "This is your home," I said. "It always will be." 2 hours later, the patrol cars went down the road, taking the 15 handcuffed men. Lou went with them to give the statement at the Harmony Creek Sheriff's Department. Mrs. Henderson went with her to give support and bring her back. I was left alone on the farm with Miguel. It was the first time I had taken care of him without Lou around. The baby cried a little, missing his mother, but I managed to calm him down with the rocking trick. I gave him a bottle, changed his diaper, sang an off-key song that made him smile. Sitting on the porch, with Miguel sleeping on my chest, I watched the sun setting behind the hills. I thought about everything that had happened that day. Death threat, marriage proposal, invasion of the farm, arrival of the police, and in the middle of all that confusion, a simple and beautiful truth. Lou and I were going to get married. We were going to become a real family. Miguel was going to have a father who would protect him and love him for the rest of his life. When Mrs. Henderson brought Lou back, it was almost midnight. She got out of the car, tired but relieved. "So?" I asked, handing Miguel to her. "It worked. The sheriff said that with my statement, plus the other evidence they already had, my stepfather will be convicted of statutory rape. He'll be locked up for a long time." And the goons? Illegal possession of a firearm, threats, conspiracy. They'll be locked up too. I hugged her and Miguel, feeling a relief that almost made me cry. It's really over, I whispered. It's over. She rested her head on my chest. Now we can start our real life, our married life, our family life. That night before going to sleep, I sat on the edge of the bed and looked at Mary's picture on the nightstand. Mary, I said softly, I don't know if you can hear me from where you are, but I want you to know that I'll never forget you. I'll never stop loving you. But I've learned that our heart has room for more than one love. And now I love Lou too. I love her in a different but true way, and I love Miguel as if he were my own flesh and blood. I touched the glass of the frame. I think you would like them. Lou has a good heart like yours, and Miguel has a sweet smile that reminds me of yours when you were happy. I put the picture in the drawer of the nightstand. Not because I wanted to forget Mary, but because it was time to live forward, not backward. In the next room, I heard Lou singing to put Miguel to sleep. Sleep, Miguel, sleep well. Your daddy is here. Sleep, Miguel, sleep well. Our family will smile, Daddy. She had said Daddy again. And this time, I knew it was true. Our family was really going to smile. 3 weeks after the day of the invasion, I woke up to a different smell in the air. It wasn't the usual dry smell of cracked earth and burned grass. It was a damp, fresh smell that made my nostrils tingle with anticipation. I got out of bed and went to the window. The sky was full of dark, heavy clouds, promising the first rain after months of drought. In the kitchen, I found Lou making coffee with Miguel in her arms. She was humming softly, a song I didn't know, but that had the pleasant rhythm of someone who is happy. Good morning, family, I said, kissing her forehead and stroking Miguel's head. Good morning, husband, she replied, smiling. Husband. The word still sounded strange, but good. We had married in a civil ceremony 3 days before, in a simple ceremony at the Harmony Creek Courthouse. Just the two of us. Miguel, Mrs. Henderson as matron of honor, and Mr. Henderson as best man. Lou wore a light blue dress that Mrs. Henderson lent her, and I put on the Sunday clothes that I hadn't worn in years. After the courthouse, we went back home and had a small party in the yard. Mrs. Henderson brought cake, Mr. Henderson brought a banjo, and even the vet showed up with his family. We danced on the dirt until the sun went down, with Miguel sleeping in the makeshift crib under the table. But the best of all had happened on our first night as husband and wife. Lou had been a little awkward, a little shy. We stayed talking on the porch until late, both of us not quite knowing how it was going to be. When it was time to sleep, she hesitated at the door of my room. John, I've never slept with a man willingly, she said softly. There's no need to rush anything, I replied. We'll go at whatever pace you feel comfortable with. And if I never feel comfortable, then we'll sleep in separate rooms for the rest of our lives, but we'll still be married and still be a family. She looked at me for a long time, as if she was trying to decipher if I was serious. Would you do that? Would you stay married to me without being husband and wife for real? I would, if it was your way. That's when she came closer, gave me a kiss on the cheek, and whispered, I want to try. Slowly, but I want to try. And we tried. Slowly, carefully, with so much affection that I felt my heart ache with so much love. She cried a little at the beginning, afraid of the ghosts of the past, but gradually she relaxed, trusted, surrendered. And when it was over, she lay on my chest, breathing peacefully, whispering, I never thought it could be like this. I never thought it could be good. Since then, we were husband and wife for real, not just on paper, but in everything. In the affection, in the care, in the intimacy that grew with each day. Lou blossomed like a plant that finally received sun and water. She smiled more, spoke more, had fewer nightmares at night. It's going to rain today, she said, interrupting my memories. It is, It's been a long time since I saw clouds like that. Miguel will see rain for the first time. I looked at the baby, who was awake, moving his arms in the air. At 1 month old, he was already chubby, pink, full of health. His eyes, which were dark blue at the beginning, were turning brown like his mother's. It's going to be a special day then. Every day has been special, Lou said, looking at me in that way that made my heart jump. Since we got married, it seems like my whole life has changed. It was true. The farm was different. Lou had planted a vegetable garden in the back of the house with tomatoes, lettuce, chives, cilantro. She had made new curtains for the rooms, had organized the house in a way I never could. There was life in every corner, the smell of good food in the kitchen, the sound of people talking. But it wasn't just the house that had changed. I was different too. I woke up early, not out of obligation, but out of a desire to start the day. I had energy to fix the things I had been putting off for years. I had plans for the future, something I hadn't done since Mary died. "John," Lou said, putting Miguel in the crib and coming to sit on my lap. I want to tell you something. You can tell me. Yesterday, when you went to get the cattle in the lower pasture, I was here thinking about everything that has happened since I arrived. And what did you think? I thought that God has a very strange way of fixing things." "How so?" She rested her head on my shoulder. "Think about it. I ran away from home pregnant, with nowhere to go, without knowing anyone. I walked 3 days in the woods, eating what I found along the way. When the baby started to be born, I was sure I was going to die. But you didn't die. I didn't die because you showed up. Just you, a good man, alone, needing company as much as I needed protection. Coincidence. It wasn't a coincidence, John. It was a miracle." She raised her head to look at me. If I had found any other man that day, it could have been worse than staying with my stepfather. But I found you, the only man in the world who was going to treat me well without wanting anything in return. I did want something in return. What? I wanted you two to save me from loneliness. And did we save you? You did. I kissed her forehead. You brought me back to life. We stayed there hugging, watching the clouds get darker outside. Miguel slept peacefully in the crib, making those little noises that babies make when they're dreaming. The house was silent, but it was a good silence of a family that is well, of people who love each other. That's when we heard the first thunder. It wasn't thunder nearby, no. It was that distant, deep thunder that makes the ground tremble a little. Miguel woke up and started to cry, frightened by the noise. Lou went to pick him up. "It's okay, my love," she said, rocking him. "It's just noise from the sky. It's not going to hurt you." "He's never heard thunder before," I said. "Or rain. It's going to be all new to him." The second thunder came closer. The clouds were arriving fast, pushed by a wind that was starting to shake the trees. I smelled the rain getting stronger, that smell of wet earth that awakens something primitive in our chest. "Lou, I'm going to get the cattle. If it rains hard, they'll look for shelter under the trees, and 1 or 2 could get struck by lightning. Go carefully." "I always will." I grabbed my hat and ran to saddle the horse. The wind was getting stronger, bringing dry leaves and dust. The cows in the pasture were already restless, raising their heads to the sky, feeling that something big was coming. I mounted the horse and galloped to the back pasture, where most of the cattle were. It was a race against time. If the rain came before I gathered the animals, it was going to be dangerous. Wet cattle get angry, difficult to drive. I managed to gather the 20 heads and drive them to the corral near the house. When I was closing the gate, the first drops started to fall, big, thick drops that made noise on the dry earth. I ran to the house. Lou was on the porch, with Miguel in her arms, both of them watching the drops fall. "It's here," she said, smiling. "It's here." The third thunder was right above us. Miguel cried again, but this time Lou didn't try to calm him down. She lifted him into the air, showing him the dark sky. "Look, Miguel, it's rain, my son, the first rain of your life." The drops turned into sprinkles, the sprinkles turned into drizzle, and the drizzle turned into real rain, the kind that makes noise on the roof and raises the smell of wet earth. Lou started to laugh, a happy laugh of a child who won a gift. She left the porch and went under the rain with Miguel in her arms. "Lou, you're going to get all wet. That's exactly what I want." I saw her dancing in the rain with the baby protected under her shirt, both of them getting wet and laughing. The water ran down her hair, her cheeks, her clothes, and she was beautiful, more beautiful than ever. I couldn't resist. I took off my hat and went under the rain too. The water was warm, pleasant on my sunburned skin. It wet my shirt, my hair ran down my arms. And for the first time in 5 years, I felt truly alive. Completely alive. I hugged Lou and Miguel there under the rain. The three of us wet, the three of us laughing, the three of us happy in a way I didn't even know was possible. "John!" Lou shouted over the noise of the rain. "Look at Miguel!" I looked at the baby. Instead of crying, he had his eyes wide open, looking at the drops that fell from the sky, as if he knew he was seeing something special, something he would remember for the rest of his life. "His first rain," I shouted back. "The first of many." We stayed there for about 10 minutes, getting wet and laughing, until the rain got stronger and we had to run inside the house. We came in dripping water, leaving puddles on the living room floor. Lou was with her clothes stuck to her body, her hair dripping. I was the same, soaked from head to toe. Miguel was wet only a little because Lou had protected him with her shirt. "Look at the state of us," Lou said, laughing. "Look at the state of the house," I replied, seeing the puddles on the floor. "Forget the house. I'm going to make some hot tea for us to warm up." While Lou was making tea, I changed clothes and got towels for her and Miguel. When I got back to the kitchen, I found her changing the baby's diaper on the table. "He liked the rain," she said. "How do you know?" "Look at his little smile." It was true. Miguel had a peaceful expression, almost smiling, as if the rain had washed away all the fears of the world. We drank hot tea at the kitchen table, watching the rain fall through the window. It was good rain, strong but not violent, that was going to soak the earth and make everything green again. "John," Lou said, stirring her tea with the spoon. "Yeah? Do you think we're going to be happy like this forever?" "I don't know about forever, but I know that I'm going to try to make you happy every day that God gives me. Even when I'm old and ugly. Especially when you're old and ugly, because then I'll be old and ugly too, and we'll be ugly together." She laughed in that way that made my chest warm. "And Miguel, when he grows up, will he understand that you're not his blood father?" "I'll tell him the truth when he's old enough to understand. I'll say that his blood father was a bad man who hurt you, and that I chose to be his father because I wanted to, not because I was obligated." "Do you think he'll accept it?" "I think so. A child accepts a father who cares, who loves, who is present. Blood is just blood, Lou. Family is who stays." That afternoon, the rain didn't stop. It fell steadily, constantly, filling the cisterns, wetting the parched earth, making the rivers rise. It was as if nature was renewing itself, being reborn after months of agony. And I felt the same, reborn after years of agony. Lou spent the afternoon cooking, preparing a private feast to celebrate Miguel's first rain. She made cornbread, cheese bread, and a chicken and vegetable stir-fry with vegetables from the garden. The house smelled of good food and a happy family. In the evening, after dinner, we sat on the porch to watch the rain. Lou breastfed Miguel. I played the guitar, an old guitar I found in the attic and managed to tune. The music mixed with the sound of the rain, creating a symphony I'll never forget. "Play that song you sang yesterday," Lou asked. "Which one?" "That one by Johnny Cash, Ring of Fire." I started to play. It was a sad song, but at that moment it seemed hopeful. I sang softly so as not to wake Miguel. Love is a burning thing, and it makes a fiery ring bound by wild desire. I fell into a ring of fire. I fell in, burn, 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 burn. I fell into a ring of fire. When I finished, Lou looked at me with a strange expression. What's wrong? Nothing. It's just, you have a nice voice. I had never noticed. Mary always said I sang like a frog. Mary was wrong, or she was jealous. She laughed at her own comment. It was the first time she had spoken of Mary with lightness, without weight, as if she had accepted that I could have loved before and still love her now. Lou, I said, putting the guitar aside. Can I ask you a kind of strange question? You can. Do you think Mary would approve of you? She thought for a moment before answering. I think so. If she really loved you, she would want you to be happy after she died. And I think she would like to know that you found someone to take care of, someone who needs you. Why do you think that? Because true love isn't selfish. True love wants the best for the loved one, even when we're not around anymore. The wisdom of that woman surprised me every day. She was only 20 years old, but she spoke as if she had lived much longer. You're wise. You know that? I'm not wise. I just learned to think about things because thinking was all I could do when I was trapped in that house. And what did you think about? About freedom. About what it would be like to have a real family. About what it would be like to be loved by someone who chose to love me. And how did you imagine it would be? Exactly as it is now. That night, lying in our bed, with Miguel sleeping in the crib next to us, we listened to the rain falling on the roof. It was a hypnotizing noise that made you want to sleep and dream at the same time. John, Lou whispered in the dark. Thank you. For what? For saving my life. For saving Miguel's life. For giving us a family. Thank you. For what? For saving my life too. We were silent, listening to the rain. Outside, the earth drank water after months of thirst. Inside the house, 3 people who had saved each other slept in peace. When I woke up the next morning, the rain had stopped. But the air was still humid, smelling of wet earth and new hope. I went out on the porch and saw the miracle. Everything was green. The pasture that yesterday was yellow and dry now had green spots sprouting. The trees that were without leaves showed small buds. Lou's garden had doubled in size overnight. Incredible, isn't it? Lou said, coming to my side with Miguel in her arms. It seems like magic. It is magic. The magic of life starting again. I looked at her bright eyes, seeing everything become new around her. I looked at Miguel, who was observing the world as if he was seeing it for the first time, which was true, because he practically was. Lou, I said. I think we started over yesterday, too. How so? Miguel's first rain was like a baptism, the baptism of our family. She smiled and gave me a kiss on the cheek. You're kind of a poet, you know that? Must be the effect of the rain, or the effect of happiness. Maybe it was both. Maybe happiness makes us more sensitive to see the poetry of simple things. Our son's first rain, the pasture turning green, the woman I loved smiling on the porch of our house. That day, I worked in the pasture with more energy than in the last 5 years. The cattle were happy, grazing on new grass that had sprouted overnight. The cows gave more milk. The calves ran more. Even the horses seemed more lively. When I got back home in the late afternoon, I found Lou in the kitchen with a surprise. She had made a birthday cake. Whose birthday is it? I asked, confused. Our family's birthday. It was 1 month yesterday. 1 month since the day Miguel was born, since the day we met, since the day our story began. The cake was simple, chocolate, made in a mold borrowed from Mrs. Henderson, but it had a candle on top and the words 1 month written with frosting. Lou, I'm what? Special, very special. We cut the cake together, the 3 of us, me, Lou, and Miguel, who obviously didn't eat anything, but was there as part of the family, as he always would be, for the rest of his life. Make a wish, Lou said, offering the first piece of cake. What kind of wish? What you want most for the future of our family? I closed my eyes and thought. What did I want most? Health for the people I loved. Peace forever. Miguel growing up strong and good. Lou being happy every day, the farm prospering, our family growing, maybe with more children in the future. But when I opened my eyes and saw Lou looking at me with that smile, I realized that my wish was simpler, that we continue to be happy the way we are today. Amen, she said, and blew out the candle for both of us. That night, before sleeping, I went to the bedroom window and looked at the sky. It was clear, full of stars that shone brighter after the rain. The moon was crescent, promising to be full in a few days. I thought of Mary, who must be somewhere seeing everything. I thought of Lou's stepfather, who was locked up and wasn't going to get out anytime soon. I thought of the future that awaited us, full of good possibilities. But mostly I thought of the present, of the woman who slept in my bed, of the baby who grew strong in the crib next door, of the house that had come to life, of the farm that was green again. And for the first time in a long time, I felt complete. The rain had washed away more than just the parched earth. It had washed away the sadness, the loneliness, the fear of the future. It had brought new life to everything, to the pasture, to the plants, and especially to my heart. I lay down in bed next to Lou, who was sleeping peacefully with a smile on her lips. I put my hand on her belly, imagining if one day there would be another child growing inside there. A brother or sister for Miguel. The idea made me smile in the dark. Family was that. It wasn't just blood. It wasn't just paperwork signed at the courthouse. It was choice. It was care. It was love that grows every day. It was people who save each other and build a future together. I fell asleep listening to the sound of water dripping from the roof, falling on the wet leaves of the yard. The sound of life starting again. The sound of hope that returns after the storm. And I dreamed of rain. Good rain that makes everything green and new. Rain that washes away the past and prepares the earth for the future. Rain that brought the family I didn't even know I was waiting for. 6 months after Miguel's first rain, I thought I already knew all the fears a father can feel. I was wrong. It was a Sunday morning, warm but not too hot, with the golden sun of late August shining in the yard. Lou was hanging clothes on the line, humming a song she made up on the spot. Miguel, now 7 months old, was sitting on a blanket on the ground, playing with some wooden blocks I made for him the previous Sunday. I was fixing the chicken coop fence when I heard the strange noise. A muffled noise, as if someone were coughing underwater. I raised my head and looked around. Lou was normal, singing and hanging sheets. Miguel wasn't normal. He was red, very red, and he was making that strange noise, trying to breathe. His eyes were wide, full of fear, and he brought his little hands to his throat as if something were stuck inside. "Lou!" I shouted, dropping the hammer and running towards him. She turned and saw the scene. The clothes she was holding fell to the ground. "My God, what's happening?" I picked Miguel up in my arms. He was hot, very hot, but the worst was his breathing. Every time he tried to breathe in, he made that suffocated noise, as if something were blocking his throat. "He's choking," I said, trying to stay calm, but feeling the panic rise through my chest. "On what? He was just playing with the blocks." I looked at the toys scattered on the blanket, all too big to swallow. But then I saw it. One of the blocks was broken, and a tiny piece was missing. "Wood splinter," I said. "He must have put it in his mouth." Lou started to cry. "What do we do? What do we do, John?" Miguel was turning more purple every second. The noise in his throat was weaker, as if he didn't have the strength to even try to breathe. I remembered something I saw on television once. I turned Miguel face down on my arm and patted his back. 1, 2, 3 times. Nothing. I turned him back over and tried to see inside his mouth. I couldn't see anything, but I stuck my little finger in and tried to pull out whatever was there. I felt something, but it slipped and went deeper. Miguel stopped making noise, stopped moving. His eyes began to close. "No!" Lou shouted. "Miguel, Miguel, wake up!" My heart jumped. The boy was dying in my arms, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to save the son I loved more than my own life. I tried again, patting his back with more force. Much more force. Force that could hurt, but that was the only chance. On the fifth pat, the miracle happened. Miguel coughed. He coughed hard, desperately, and along with the cough came a small wood splinter wet with saliva and blood. The air entered his lungs with a loud noise, as if it were the first breath of his life. Then came the crying, a loud, strong cry, more beautiful than church music. "He breathed," Lou cried. "He breathed." I hugged Miguel against my chest, feeling his small body move, feeling the air entering and leaving his lungs. Tears ran down my face without me being able to control it. "It's okay, my son," I whispered in his ear. "It's okay. Daddy's here. Everything's okay now." But everything wasn't okay. Miguel was crying, yes, but his breathing was still difficult, too fast, too short. And when I looked in his mouth, I saw blood on his gums. "Lou, go get the car keys. We're going to the hospital, now." But he's breathing now. "Lou, the car keys." She ran into the house. I kept holding Miguel, who was crying weaker now, as if he didn't have the strength to cry right. The trip to the Harmony Creek Hospital was the longest of my life. I drove with one hand, held Miguel with the other. Lou was in the back seat, hugging us both, whispering prayers she made up on the spot. Miguel would stop crying sometimes, get too quiet, and my heart would freeze. "Talk to him," I would say to Lou. "Don't let him sleep. Miguel, my love, look at Mommy. Look at Mommy's eyes." We arrived at the hospital in 20 minutes, but it seemed like 20 hours. I stopped the car at the emergency room door, picked Miguel up in my arms, and ran inside. "Help!" I shouted. My son was choking. A nurse appeared running, followed by a young doctor. "What happened?" I told everything quickly. The choking, the wood splinter, the pats on the back. The doctor examined Miguel quickly, listening to his heart, looking in his throat with a flashlight. "We're going to do some tests," he said, "to make sure there's nothing else in his throat and that his lungs weren't damaged." They took Miguel to the examination room. Lou and I stayed outside, waiting. She cried softly, clinging to my arm. I tried to seem calm, but inside it was just despair. "It was my fault," Lou said between sobs. "It wasn't anyone's fault." "Yes, it was. I'm the one who made the blocks too small. I'm the one who didn't pay attention." "Lou, stop it. Accidents happen. The important thing is that he's alive." What if we had lost him, John? What if we didn't lose him? And we won't lose him. But inside, I was also dying of fear. Miguel was everything to us. He was the reason our family existed. He was the thread that had linked Lou and I in a love we didn't even know existed. If we lost him, no. I couldn't even think about it. After an hour that seemed like an eternity, the doctor came out of the room with Miguel in his arms. The boy was awake, looking around curiously as if nothing had happened. "Everything's okay," the doctor said, smiling. "There's nothing else in his throat. His breathing is normal. Just small scratches on the roof of his mouth, which will heal on their own." Lou collapsed with relief. I felt my legs weaken. "Are you sure, doctor?" "Absolutely. You did the right thing. The pats on the back saved his life." I took Miguel back. He looked at me and gave a little smile, as if he were saying, "Hi, Daddy. Why is everyone worried?" "Can I give you some advice?" the doctor said. "Sure. Babies this age put everything in their mouth. Be careful with small objects. Coins, buttons, toy parts, anything smaller than a ping-pong ball can be dangerous." "We'll be more careful," Lou said. "And one more thing, you were heroes today. Many parents panic in a situation like this and can't help. You kept calm and saved your son." On the way back home, we stopped at a gas station. Lou went to the bathroom and I stayed in the car with Miguel. He was sleeping peacefully in the front seat. clinging to a diaper cloth that Lou always carried. I looked at that small, pink, peaceful face. I thought about how I had almost lost him, about how life can change from one hour to the next, about how each day with the people we love is a gift that we can't take for granted. "Miguel," I whispered, touching his little hand, "you gave your dad a scare today." He wiggled his fingers, but kept sleeping. "But I want you to know one thing, my son. No matter what happens in life, your dad will always be here to protect you. Always. You can count on that." Lou came back from the bathroom with red eyes. She had cried again, alone, where I couldn't see. "How is he?" "Sleeping like an angel." "John." She looked at me with an expression I had never seen before. "I love you. I love you too. No, you don't understand. I love you in a way I didn't even know existed. Today, when I thought we were going to lose Miguel, the first thing that came into my head was, I can't go through this without John by my side." "Lou, let me finish. Today I understood that you're not just the man who saved me. You're not just the father that Miguel gained. You're the other half of me. She's the person I can't live without anymore." Her words hit me in the chest like a punch. "Lou, if anything had happened to Miguel today, I would have died too." "I know. I saw it on your face. And that's when I understood. We're not just husband and wife. We're a real family. A family that loves each other, protects each other, faces everything together." We arrived home as the sun was setting. The house seemed different, as if we had left one morning and returned to a new life. Everything the same, but with a deeper meaning. Lou prepared dinner while I played with Miguel on the living room floor. He was normal, cheerful, as if he hadn't almost died a few hours before. He drooled on the wooden blocks, the new, bigger ones that I quickly made while Lou cooked. "John," Lou called from the kitchen. "Yeah? Can you come here for a minute?" I left Miguel in the playpen and went to the kitchen. Lou was standing near the stove with a strange expression on her face. "What's wrong?" "I want to tell you something, but promise you won't get mad." "I promise. What is it?" She took a deep breath before speaking. "For about 3 weeks now, I've been feeling some strange things. Morning sickness, too much sleep, sore breasts." My heart jumped. "Lou, are you saying what I'm thinking?" "I'm pregnant, John." The world stopped. Pregnant. Lou was pregnant. We were going to have another child. Miguel was going to have a little brother or sister. "Are you sure?" "I took the test yesterday when you went to town. It came back positive." "Why didn't you tell me before?" "Because I wanted to be sure. And because I was afraid of your reaction." "Afraid? Why?" "Afraid that you would think it was too soon, that we were going to have too much work, that you wouldn't be able to handle 2 small children." I looked at her, standing there in the kitchen, with that face of a child who had done something naughty and doesn't know if she's going to get scolded or congratulated. "Lou," I said, approaching slowly, "you're giving me the best news of my life. Really, really." I hugged her and spun her in the air. "We're going to have another child. Miguel's going to have a little brother or sister." She started to cry again, but this time with joy. "Do you have any idea when?" "From what I've calculated, it should be born in April, a few days after Miguel's first birthday. It's going to be 2 small babies at the same time." "It is. Do you regret it?" "Regret it? Lou, I dreamed about this. I dreamed of having a house full of children, but I never thought it would really happen." "So you're happy?" "I'm more than happy. I looked for the right word. I'm fulfilled." That night, after putting Miguel to sleep, we sat on the porch to talk about the future. Lou had her head on my lap, and I stroked her hair. "John," she said softly. Today was the scariest and happiest day of my life." "Why?" "Scary because we almost lost Miguel. Happy because I understood that our family is stronger than anything that can try to tear us down. And now it's going to get even stronger." "How so?" "With another member." She put her hand on her belly. which still didn't show anything. Do you think it's going to be a boy or a girl? I don't know. And it doesn't matter. What matters is that it's going to be ours. John, can I ask you a kind of silly question? You can. Are you going to love this baby as much as you love Miguel? The question wasn't silly. It was important, because Miguel wasn't my blood son, but I loved him as if he were. And now we were going to have our own biological child. Lou, love isn't like pizza, which you divide and have less of. Love is like fire. The more you light, the more it grows. I'm going to love this baby with all my heart, and I'm going to continue loving Miguel with all my heart too. And they're going to be real brothers or sisters. They're going to be real brothers and sisters, because brotherhood isn't just blood, it's upbringing. It's growing up together, it's taking care of each other, it's sharing toys and fighting. That's what makes a sibling. We were silent for a while, watching the stars in the clear sky. Inside, Miguel slept peacefully in his crib, and there in Lou's belly, another child of ours began to grow. John, Lou said again. Thank you. What for this time? For saving Miguel today, for being happy with the baby that's coming, for making me feel like the luckiest woman in the world. Thank you. For what? For giving me a family, for making me a father twice, for making my life better than I ever dreamed it could be. 2 months later, Lou started to feel sick in the morning, strong nausea, which lasted until lunchtime. I took care of Miguel while she rested, bathed him, prepared his bottles. Miguel was growing fast. He was already sitting alone, already rehearsing to stand up by leaning on the furniture. He said Dada and Mama, and I never got tired of hearing him call me Dada. One morning, while Lou was resting in the room, I sat with Miguel on my lap to talk. Miguel, I said, looking into his curious eyes, Daddy's going to tell you a secret. He looked at me attentively, as if he understood. You're going to get a little brother or sister. It's growing in Mommy's belly. He babbled something and clapped. You're going to be the big brother. That's a big responsibility, you know. You're going to have to help take care of it, teach it things, protect it. Miguel brought his hand to my mouth, as he always did when I talked to him. But don't worry, Daddy and Mommy are going to love you both just the same. A father and mother's heart always has room for more love. That afternoon, Mrs. Henderson came to visit us and brought news that changed everything again. John, Lou, she said, sitting on the porch with a serious air, I need to talk to you about something important. What is it, Mrs. Henderson? Lou asked, holding Miguel in her arms. It's about Lou's stepfather. My blood ran cold. I thought that matter was closed forever. What about him? He died in jail yesterday, fight with another inmate, took a knife in the neck. Lou turned as white as paper. He died? He died. The Harmony Creek sheriff called Mr. Henderson this morning, asking him to let you know. I felt a strange relief. The man who had done so much harm to Lou no longer existed. He would never be a threat again. He would never try to take our family away from us. How are you feeling? I asked Lou. She was silent for a while, looking at the ground. Relieved, she said finally, and ashamed of feeling relieved. Don't be ashamed, Mrs. Henderson said. No one deserves to feel afraid their whole life. Now you can live in peace, for real. And it was true. With the death of the stepfather, the last shadow of the past had disappeared. Now our family could grow without fear, without looking back, without worrying about threats. That night, lying in bed, Lou put my hand on her belly. Feel, she whispered. I waited, and then I felt it, a tiny movement as if something were moving inside. Is it the baby? It's the baby. It's moving for the first time. Tears came to my eyes. There was my son, my blood son, moving in the belly of the woman I loved. After so much suffering, so much fear, so much struggle, we were building something beautiful and true. Hi, baby, I whispered to Lou's belly. This is Daddy. I can't wait to meet you, but don't rush. Grow a lot in there, get strong, so that when you're born, you're ready to be very loved. The baby moved again as if he had heard. "John," Lou said. If it's a boy, I want to name him Gabriel." "Why Gabriel?" "Because Gabriel is the angel who brings good news, and this baby is the best news we could have in our lives. And if it's a girl, Mary, in honor of your first wife." I was surprised. Lou wanted to name our daughter after Mary. "Are you sure?" "I am. Mary was part of your life. She made you the man you are today. If our daughter carries her name, she will be carrying a little of the story that brought us here." "And you're not jealous?" "I'm not. I already told you. True love isn't selfish. Mary was the first, I'm the second, but both of us are important in your story." Once again, I was surprised by the wisdom of that 20-year-old woman. "Gabriel or Mary then?" "Gabriel or Mary?" We slept hugging, with my hand on Lou's belly. During the night, I felt the baby move a few more times. Each movement was a promise of the future, a certainty that our family was complete. The next day, I woke up to Miguel crying in his crib. It was a different cry, louder, more desperate. I ran to pick him up in my arms. He was hot, very hot. "Lou!" I called. "Miguel has a fever!" She got up quickly, still half groggy from sleep. "How high is the fever?" "He's burning up. And look how limp he is." Miguel was crying weakly, without energy. His eyes were glazed, and he didn't react when I stroked his head. "We're going to the hospital," Lou said. "Again. Second trip to the hospital in 2 months. This time for high fever and dehydration. The doctors said it was a common virus in babies, but that he had to stay under observation." We spent the night at the hospital, Lou and I taking turns holding Miguel. He got better the next day, but the scare was big. "John," Lou said when we were returning home with Miguel cured, "is this what being parents is really like? Always living with the fear of losing your children?" "I think so. My mother always said that a mother's heart never rests." Now I understand what she meant. And how do we endure it? We endure it because it's worth it, because every happy day with them makes up for 1,000 days of worry. And because we're not alone in this. Yeah, because we're not alone. We arrived home and put Miguel to sleep. He was fine, playing again, drooling on his toys. But Lou and I were exhausted from the scare and the sleepless night. "Lou," I said, hugging her on the porch. "These last few months have taught me something." "What?" "That life can change in a second, for better or for worse, and that the important thing is to enjoy every good moment we have." "That's true. So I want to enjoy this moment. You in my arms, Miguel sleeping soundly, the baby growing in your belly. This exact moment here is perfect. It is perfect indeed." And it was. In the midst of all the scares, all the fears, all the worries that came with being a family, there were moments like that. Moments of peace, of love, of certainty that we were in the right place. Life had taught me that happiness isn't the absence of problems. It's having the right people by your side when problems appear. And I had the right people. I had Lou, who loved me and whom I loved more each day. I had Miguel, who taught me what fatherly love is. And soon I would have another child, who would complete our family in a way I didn't even imagine. That night before sleeping, I made a silent promise. I would enjoy every moment with my family. I would save every smile, every word, every small gesture of love, because I knew that life was fragile, that it could change at any moment. But I also knew that the love we built was strong enough to face any storm, and that in the end, that's what mattered. The love we build, the family we choose, the future we plant every day with care and hope. That's what really mattered. Lou's belly grew along with the drought that returned at the end of the year. It was December, and the sun cracked the earth like old china. Miguel already walked alone, stumbling around the house with that awkward way of a child who is learning about the world. He said, "Dada, Mama, water, and no," the favorite word of any 1-year-old. Lou was 8 months pregnant, her belly round and heavy, her back hurting, her feet swollen, but she continued taking care of everything, of the house, of Miguel, of me, stubborn as a mule when I told her to rest. "John, I'm not made of sugar," she always said whenever I tried to stop her from sweeping the yard or hanging clothes. "Women have had children while working in the fields since the world began. But you don't need to prove anything to anyone." "I'm not proving anything. I'm living." It was a Saturday morning when everything began. I was in the pasture checking the cattle's drinking trough. The water was low because of the drought, when I heard Lou scream from the house. It wasn't a scream of pain. It was a scream of surprise, of fright. I dropped the hose and ran to the yard. I found Lou standing at the kitchen door with a puddle of water on the floor between her legs. "My water broke," she said, with a mixture of relief and nervousness in her voice. I looked at the puddle, then at her belly, then at her face. It was happening again. Another child of ours was going to be born. "Are you in pain?" "Not yet, but it won't take long." "Where's Miguel?" "Sleeping in his crib." "He dozed off after lunch," I thought quickly. The hospital was 40 minutes away by car. If the delivery was as fast as Miguel's, there wouldn't be time to get there. "Lou, are we going to the hospital, or are we calling the midwife?" The midwife was Mrs. Gable, a 70-year-old woman who lived 10 minutes from the farm. She had delivered more than 200 babies in the region. She knew her craft like no one else. "I'd rather have Mrs. Gable," Lou said. "She has more experience than the young doctors at the hospital, and if there's any problem, we'll go to the hospital later." "Are you sure?" "I am. Go get her. I'll stay here getting things ready." I ran to the car and went down the dirt road at a speed I had never driven before. Mrs. Gable was in the yard, giving corn to the chickens when I arrived. "Mrs. Gable, Lou is in labor." "It's about time," she said, as if she had been waiting. "Let me get my bag." We returned to the farm in 15 minutes. When we arrived, Lou was sitting on the edge of the bed, taking deep breaths and exhaling slowly. "How are you, honey?" Mrs. Gable asked, washing her hands in the basin that Lou had prepared. "The pain started a little while ago, every 10 minutes. First child takes time, second comes in a hurry." Mrs. Gable examined Lou quickly. "This one is going to be born before nightfall." Miguel woke up in the middle of the afternoon and came looking for his mother. When he saw Lou lying in bed, breathing differently, he was confused. "Mama hurt?" he asked, with that innocent concern of a child. "No, my love," Lou said, stroking his head. "Mommy doesn't hurt? Your little brother or sister wants to be born?" "Broda." "Yes, your little brother or sister is coming." Miguel clapped and smiled, as if he understood that something good was happening. "John," Mrs. Gable said, "take Miguel to the living room. Distract him with something. Labor isn't a place for a small child." I picked Miguel up in my arms and we went to the living room. I played with him on the floor, built blocks, made paper airplanes. But my ear was glued to the sounds that came from the room: Lou's breathing, Mrs. Gable's low words, the sound of water being heated. With each passing hour, the moans got closer together. "John," Lou called around 5 in the afternoon. "Can you come here?" I left Miguel playing in the playpen and went to the room. Lou was sweaty, red, but with shining eyes. "I want you here when the baby is born," she said, holding my hand, "just like it was with Miguel." "Are you sure?" "Mrs. Gable, what do you think?" "I think a father has to see his child born," the old midwife said. "It's the most beautiful thing in the world." I sat on the edge of the bed and held Lou's hand. The next contraction came strong, and she squeezed my fingers with a force that left a mark. "Breathe, Lou. Breathe like Mrs. Gable taught you." "It's hard," she gasped when the pain passed. "What can I do to help?" "Just stay here. Don't leave me." "I'll never leave." The sun was setting when Mrs. Gable announced, "It's time. The baby is coming with the next contraction." Lou positioned herself squatting just like the first time. I held her from behind, giving support. Mrs. Gable knelt in front, her hands ready. "Now, honey, push!" Lou's scream echoed through the house, stronger than the first time, more desperate. I felt her body trembling with effort. "It's coming!" Mrs. Gable shouted. "I see the head!" Another contraction, another scream, and then... "He's born!" Mrs. Gable lifted the baby. Tiny, wet, purple, but moving and trying to cry. "It's a boy," she announced, smiling. "Gabriel has arrived. Gabriel, our Gabriel." The cry came loud and clear. Mrs. Gable cleaned him quickly and placed him on Lou's chest. "Hi, my love," Lou whispered, crying with joy. "Welcome to the world." Gabriel was tiny, tinier than Miguel had been, but he was pink, cried strongly, moved his arms as if he were trying to hug the whole world. "John," Lou said, "your son." I touched his small face, his little hand that closed on my finger, his dark hair wet from birth. "Hi, Gabriel," I whispered. "This is Daddy." "It took a while to get here, but you arrived at the right time." Mrs. Gable cut the cord, cleaned Gabriel properly, weighed him on a small scale she brought in her bag. 7 pounds 2 ounces, she announced. "Perfect size, perfect health." When everything was clean and tidy, she brought Miguel to the room. He entered kind of shy, looking at that new scene, his mother in bed with a baby in her arms. "Miguel," I said, picking him up in my arms, "this is your little brother Gabriel." Miguel looked at the baby with curiosity. He reached out his hand and touched Gabriel's face, delicate. "Broda," he said softly. "Yes, Broda, your younger brother." Gabriel opened his eyes at that moment, as if he wanted to meet his older brother. The two looked at each other for a second that seemed eternal. "They're going to be great friends," Mrs. Gable said. "I see it in their eyes." That night, after Mrs. Gable left and Gabriel slept peacefully in his crib, I sat on the porch with Miguel in my lap. Lou was resting, exhausted but happy. "Miguel," I said to my eldest son, "now we're 4 in the family. Daddy, Mommy, you and Gabriel." He rested his head on my chest, sleepy. "From today on, you're the big brother. That's a big responsibility. You're going to have to help take care of Gabriel, teach him things, protect him when he needs it." Miguel murmured something I didn't understand, but that sounded like agreement. "But don't worry, Daddy and Mommy are going to love you both just the same. A father and mother's heart always grows when a new child arrives." I carried Miguel to his crib, which now shared the room with Gabriel's crib. The 2 sons sleeping side by side, breathing peacefully in the room that was once only for loneliness. I returned to the bed where Lou rested. She opened her eyes when she felt the mattress sink. "How are you?" I asked. "Tired, but happy, very happy. Gabriel is beautiful. He's just like you when you were a baby." Mrs. Gable said that boy babies always take more after their fathers. "And Miguel took after me, but he's going to take after you in the way he is." I lay down next to her and put my hand on her belly, now shrunken and soft. "Lou, you gave me 2 sons, 2 wonderful sons. How am I going to thank you for that?" "You don't need to thank me. You gave me a family. We're even, but I knew I wasn't. I never would be. Lou had transformed my life in a way there was no way to repay. She had made me a father, a husband, a complete man. She had filled my house with life and my heart with purpose. The first months with Gabriel were a whirlwind. 2 small children, one walking and exploring everything, the other nursing every 3 hours. Lou breastfed Gabriel while running after Miguel, who had discovered that he could open drawers, knock things over, and get into any hole he found. I helped as much as I could. I bathed Miguel, changed Gabriel's diaper, prepared bottles when Lou was busy. But most of the work was hers, and I saw that she was tired. "Lou, let's hire someone to help," I said one afternoon when I found her sleeping on her feet, leaning against the kitchen wall. "We don't need help." "Yes, we do. You're not a machine." "We don't have money to pay for a maid." "Yes, we do. The farm is doing well. The cows are giving more milk than ever." It was true. Since Lou arrived, everything on the farm seemed to prosper, as if the happiness of the family reflected on the land, on the animals, on everything. Who are you thinking of hiring? Mrs. Gable's daughter, Noosa. She's single, doesn't have children, needs a job. And would she live here, if you want? Or she comes in the morning and goes back at night? Lou thought for a while. Let's talk to her, but make it clear that I'm still the boss of the house. She's just going to help. Noosa started working with us the following week. A 30-year-old woman, single, hard-working, with a special way with children. Miguel became attached to her quickly, and she took care of Gabriel as if he were her nephew. With help at home, Lou could rest more. And with more rest, she went back to smiling all the time, to singing while cooking, to being the cheerful woman I fell in love with. It was on an afternoon in March, when Gabrielle was 5 months old and Miguel was a year and a half, that something happened that marked our family forever. I was in the pasture when I heard shouting coming from the house. It wasn't shouting of pain, it was shouting of joy. I ran to see what was happening. I found Lou, Noosa, and Miguel kneeling on the living room floor around Gabriel, who was lying on a blanket. "What's wrong?" I asked, panting. "Look," Lou pointed to Gabriel. "Look what he's doing." I looked and saw Gabriel was smiling. It wasn't that smile that babies make while sleeping, which could be gas. It was a conscious smile, looking straight at us, as if he knew he was surrounded by people who loved him. "First smile," Noosa said, at exactly 4 months old. "Miguel," Lou said to her eldest son, "say hi to your brother." "Hi, broda," Miguel said, and Gabriel smiled even more. It was as if he recognized his brother's voice. At that moment, seeing my 2 sons looking at each other and smiling, I felt a completeness that I never imagined existed. The family was complete. The house was full. The heart was overflowing. "John," Lou said, getting up from the floor and coming to hug me. "Look what we built." I looked around. The living room full of toys scattered around, Noosa organizing things with the affection of someone who is part of the family. Miguel playing with Gabriel's fingers, Gabriel smiling at everyone. "We built a home," I said. "We built a world." And it was true. We had built our own world, complete, where each person had their place, their importance, their guaranteed love. But the best was yet to come. One night in April, when Gabriel was 5 months old, I woke up to a strange noise coming from the children's room. I got up slowly so as not to wake Lou and went to check. What I saw made me stop at the door, afraid of ruining the scene. Miguel had gotten out of his crib. He could already climb on his own and was inside Gabriel's crib. The two were lying close together, Miguel with his arm around his younger brother, both sleeping peacefully. "They do this every night," Lou whispered behind me. "You knew?" "I've known for a week." Miguel wakes up, gets out of his crib, gets into Gabriel's crib. They sleep hugging until morning. "And you let him?" "Why wouldn't I? They're brothers. Real brothers. They were born to take care of each other." We stood there at the door, watching our children sleep, hugging. 2 boys who had different fathers, but who were brothers in the purest way that exists. In choice, in care, in love. "Lou," I whispered. Remember when you arrived here, pregnant, scared, with nowhere to go?" I remember. If someone had told me that day that in 2 years I would be here, seeing my 2 sons sleeping together, I wouldn't have believed it. Neither would I. Our lives have changed so much. They have, but they changed for the right course. We returned to bed and stayed talking softly. "John," Lou said. "Yeah? Do you regret anything? The way things happened?" I thought about the question. Did I regret anything of having lost 5 years of my life in loneliness? Maybe. But if I hadn't lost those years, maybe I wouldn't have been ready to receive Lou and Miguel on the right day. Of Mary having died so young? Of course. But her death was part of a story that brought me to Lou. Of Lou having suffered at the hands of her stepfather, obviously. But if she hadn't run away, she wouldn't have come to me. I don't regret anything, I said. Each thing that happened in our life brought us here, to this moment, to this family. Not even the bad parts, not even the bad parts, because the bad parts taught us to value the good parts. You're wise, you know that? I'm not wise. I just learned that happiness isn't the absence of problems. It's having the right people to face the problems together. At the end of that month, we had a small party to celebrate Miguel's second birthday. Mrs. Henderson brought cake. Mr. Henderson brought the banjo. Mrs. Gable came with her whole family. Even the vet showed up with his wife and children. Miguel received a wooden horse that I made during the nights. Gabriel, even small, stayed in the arms of whoever wanted to hold him, smiling at everyone. "John," Mrs. Henderson said, pulling me aside during the party, "I want to tell you something." "Tell me, Mrs. Henderson." "Since Lou arrived here, the entire region has changed." "How so?" You started smiling again. "The farm is prospering. People comment that they have never seen a more beautiful family than yours." "You're exaggerating." "I'm not. You and Lou are an example to everyone. Proof that true love exists, that family can be built in many ways. We're just living, Mrs. Henderson. That's right, living in the right way, with love, with care, with gratitude." That night, after everyone had left and the children were asleep, I sat on the porch with Lou. 2 years, she said. 2 years since what? Since I arrived here. 2 years since our story began. It seems like a lifetime. It seems like it. And at the same time, it seems like it was yesterday. We looked at the starry sky. It was a clear night without a cloud, with a full moon illuminating the pasture. "Lou," I said. Thank you." "What for this time? For having chosen to stay, for having built this family with me, for having taught me that life can be good again, even after a lot of pain. Thank you for having taught me that men can be good, that fathers can be loving, that family can be a safe harbor." We were silent, each lost in our own thoughts. "John," Lou said after a while, "speak. Do you think our children will remember this when they grow up? Remember what? This happiness, this love, this security that we're giving them. They'll remember. Maybe not the specific scenes, but they'll remember the feeling of being loved, of having a family, of being safe. And will that make a difference in their lives? It will make all the difference. A child who grows up loved becomes an adult who knows how to love. A child who grows up safe becomes an adult who gives security to their own children. So we're not just raising Miguel and Gabriel, we're raising the parents they're going to be one day. Exactly. And the grandparents. And the great-grandparents. The love we're planting now will pass from generation to generation. The idea was beautiful and frightening at the same time. The responsibility of planting love that would last far beyond our lives. "Do you think we're doing it right?" Lou asked. "I think we're doing the best we know how. And when we make mistakes, we'll correct them. And when we don't know, we'll learn. Together. Always together." That night, before sleeping, I went to take a look at the children. Miguel and Gabriel were sleeping in the same crib again, hugging, breathing in the same rhythm. 2 boys that life had brought together in a way that no one planned, but that was perfect. True brothers, not by blood, but by coexisting, by caring, by daily love. I looked at that scene and knew that, regardless of what the future brought, they would always have each other. They would always have the certainty that they were born into a family that loved them, that protected them, that prepared them for the world with affection and example. And that was the greatest gift that Lou and I could give them. Not money, not inheritance, not property, love, family, the certainty that they would always have a place to return to. That's what really mattered. That's what was going to make all the difference in their lives. And that's what justified every day of our struggle to build that family. 15 years later, I wake up today as I have every day for 15 years, with the sound of life filling the house. It's not baby crying anymore, no. Now it's the sound of teenagers running down the hall, door slamming, Gabriel shouting that Miguel took his shirt without asking, Lou laughing in the kitchen and telling the two to stop clowning around. I get out of bed, the same bed where Lou told me she was pregnant with Gabriel, where we planned the future on full moon nights, and go to the window. Outside, the world is golden with the March sun that rises behind the hills. The pasture is no longer yellow and dry, as it was that day I found Lou by the creek. It's green, well cared for, with strong cattle grazing peacefully. The garden that she planted in the first months has become a large garden, full of flowers that she brought from other places. The farm has prospered along with the family. "Dad," Gabriel shouts from the kitchen, "Miguel ate my bread." "I didn't," Miguel shouts back. "I ate mine." At 16 years old, Miguel is taller than me, with broad shoulders from someone who has helped on the farm since he was little. He has his mother's calm demeanor, but the stubbornness of the grandfather he never knew. He's a sophomore in high school and already talks about studying veterinary medicine in the city. Gabriel at 15 took more after me in physique, but has his mother's cleverness and energy. He's smaller than his brother, but more talkative, more mischievous, more of a dreamer. He wants to be a musician. He learned to play the guitar on his own, watching videos on his phone, and sings better than the singers on the radio. "John," Lou calls, "get down here before I kill your two sons. Your two sons." Lou always says that as if they were both biologically ours, and they are in the way that matters. Miguel never knew the truth about his biological father. When he got old enough to understand, we decided it was better to leave it alone. He's my son of the heart, and that has always been enough. I go down to the kitchen and find the usual scene. Lou trying to serve breakfast while the boys argue about some nonsense. She's 45 now, a few grey hairs in her brown hair, small wrinkles around her eyes from so much smiling. She's more beautiful than ever. "Good morning, family," I say, kissing her forehead and tousling the hair of the two boys. "Good morning, old man," Gabriel says, smiling. "Good morning, Dad," Miguel says, more seriously, but with affection in his eyes. The difference in personality between the two has always amused me. Gabriel is fire, Miguel is water. Gabriel talks a mile a minute, Miguel thinks before opening his mouth. Gabriel dreams big, Miguel plans quietly. But they complement each other like two halves of an orange. "Boys," Lou says, putting the coffee on the table. "Today is Saturday. Dad doesn't work, you don't study. How about helping tidy up the yard for tomorrow's party? Tomorrow is our wedding anniversary, 16 years. Lou wants to have a small party, invite the neighbors, celebrate another year of the family we built." "Mom," Gabriel complains, "couldn't we just buy a cake and be done with it?" No. Lou sits at the table with us. 16 years of marriage are celebrated right. With a party, with music, with the people we love. "I'll play the guitar at the party," Gabriel offers, "and I'll help serve the guests," Miguel adds. I look at my sons, our sons, and I feel my chest warm. They grew up to be good men, responsible, caring, different from each other, but united as I always wanted them to be. "Speaking of the party," Lou says, looking at me with that little smile that I've known for 15 years, "I have a surprise for you." "What kind of surprise?" "The kind that I'll only tell you at the right time. I spend the morning helping the boys clean the yard, set up some tables borrowed from Mrs. Henderson, prepare everything for the party. Gabriel works singing. He always sings when he's happy. Miguel works in silence, but efficiently, organizing each thing in the right place. In the afternoon, while Lou and the boys rest, I go for my daily walk. It's a habit I created a few years ago. Every day in the late afternoon, I walk through the entire farm. I see the animals, check the fences. But mainly, I remember what it was like before, and I'm grateful for what we have now. I pass by the pasture where the cattle rest in the shade, by the trees we planted in the first years of marriage and that are now large, full of birds, by the garden that has become a garden, where Lou spends the afternoons digging in the soil and talking to the plants. And inevitably I end up at the creek, the same creek where I found Lou 15 years ago, pregnant, scared, with nowhere to go. The water still runs low at this time of year, but the banks are green, full of life. I sit on the same stone where I sat that day, when I didn't know that my whole life was going to change in a matter of hours. I think of Mary, who rests in the Harmony Creek Cemetery for almost 20 years. I think of her with affection, without pain, without weight. I know that she would approve of everything I built after. I know that she would be happy to know that I didn't stay alone, that I found love again, that I became a father. I think of Lou's stepfather, dead for so many years that I sometimes forget he existed. The evil he did turned into a seed of the good that grew. Without the suffering that Lou went through, she wouldn't have run away. Without the escape, she wouldn't have found me. Sometimes God writes straight, with crooked lines anyway. I think of my children, who grew up free, loved, protected. Miguel, who is discovering the world and preparing to fly with his own wings. Gabriel, who is still kind of a child, but already shows the man he's going to be. The two with a future wide open ahead, with a solid base to build their own lives. And I think of Lou, of the frightened girl who became a strong woman, a dedicated mother, a companion for all hours. Of the person who taught me that love isn't just passion, it's daily choice, it's care, it's a complicity that grows with the years. Dad? I turn and see Gabriel walking towards me. Hi, son. What are you doing here? Mum sent me to call you. It's time for dinner. I'm coming. Gabriel sits on the stone next to me, just like he did when he was little, and accompanied me on walks. Dad, he says, throwing a pebble into the water. Talk. Can I ask you a kind of personal question? You can. How did you know you were going to work out? You and Mom. The question catches me by surprise. Gabriel doesn't usually talk about feelings like that directly. Why are you asking? Because there's a girl at school, Isabel, and I like her, but I don't know if she likes me. I smile. 15 years old. The age of first loves, of first doubts, of first fears of surrendering. Son, when I met your mother, she was in a very difficult situation. She needed help. I needed company. At first it wasn't love, it was mutual need. And when did it become love? Little by little, in the care of everyday life, in the way she sang to Miguel to sleep, in the way she smiled when I arrived from the pasture, in the affection she had for me and that I had for her. But did you know it was going to work out? We didn't know. Love has no guarantee, Gabriel. We bet, we cheer, we care. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But when it does, it compensates for all the risk. Gabriel is thoughtful for a while, and if Isabel doesn't like me, then you're going to suffer a little, you're going to be sad, but you're not going to die. And when the sadness passes, you're going to be stronger, more prepared for the next love. Do you think I should talk to her? I think you should be yourself. If she likes who you really are, it might work out. If she doesn't like it, at least you won't be dwelling on it. And if I don't know what to say, tell the truth. That you like her, that you would like to know her better. Truth is never wrong, even when it hurts. Gabriel smiles, more relieved. Thanks, Dad. You're welcome, son. We return home together, father and son, walking in the golden late afternoon. Gabriel hums softly a song he made up. I listen to the sound of the crickets beginning to sing, the wind blowing in the leaves of the trees. At dinner, Lou tells the plans for tomorrow's party. Mrs. Henderson is coming with her whole family, Mrs. Gable and her children, the neighbors in the region, some friends from the city. Nothing too big, but enough to celebrate 16 years of a story that started from nothing and became everything. And the surprise? I ask. Tomorrow you'll find out. After dinner, while the boys are doing homework in the room, I sit on the porch with Lou. It's our moment of the day, when we talk about everything and nothing, when we plan the future or just stay in silence, enjoying each other's company. "John," she says, resting her head on my shoulder. Are you happy?" "Why are you asking?" "Because sometimes I look at our life and I don't believe it's real. 2 wonderful children, a full house, a prosperous farm, love that only grows. It seems too good to be true. It's real, yes, and it's ours. Do you miss anything?" I think about the question. Do I miss something? I miss the time when the boys were little, when they fit in my lap, when they called me to solve all the problems. They still call you. But now the problems are different. Math, girls, choice of profession. And that's bad? It's not bad. It's different. It's life happening, them growing up, preparing to live their own lives. Are you afraid they're going to leave? I am. But I know it's natural. We raise children to release them into the world, not to trap them at home. And when they leave home, what are we going to do? We're going to take advantage of being husband and wife again. Travel, get to know places, grow old together. Do you want to grow old with me? I want to grow old with you, Lou. I want to grow old, watching you grow old. I want us to become those old couples who know each other by heart, who talk only with their eyes, who still hold hands walking in the park. She smiles and takes my hand. I want that too. The next day, we wake up early to finish the preparations for the party. The boys help without complaining. They know it's a special day. Lou is radiant, running from one side to the other, organizing everything with the precision of someone who has had many parties in her life. The first guests arrive in the middle of the afternoon. Mrs. Henderson, now in her early 80s, but still active, still commanding the whole family. Mr. Henderson, more silent but always present. Their children and grandchildren who grew up along with our boys. Mrs. Gable arrives soon after with her granddaughter who is pregnant with her first child. The circle closing, the midwife who brought Gabriel into the world is going to be a great grandmother. The people in the region arrive little by little. The party fills the yard with conversation, laughter, music. Gabriel plays the guitar and sings songs that everyone knows. Miguel helps to serve, always attentive, always making sure that no one is without food or drink. In the late afternoon, when the sun is setting and the first stars begin to appear, Lou calls me aside. "It's time for the surprise," she says, with that mysterious smile. "What surprise?" "Come with me." She takes me inside the house to our room. On top of the bed, there's a small package of colored paper. "Open it." I open the package slowly. Inside, there's a small box, and inside the box, a pregnancy test. Positive. I look at Lou, who is smiling and crying at the same time. "You're pregnant. At 45 years old with 2 teenage children after so much time, I'm pregnant again." The world stops once more. Just like it stopped when Lou told me about Gabriel, just like it stopped when Miguel was born. Time freezes in those moments when life changes completely. Are you sure? Absolutely. I took 3 tests. All 3 came back positive. And you're okay with this? I am, scared but okay. And you? I look at that test in my hand. Positive. Another child. Another child who will grow up in this house, in this family, in this love. I'm more than okay. I look for the right word. I'm blessed. John, we're going to be almost 60 when this baby is born. So what? We're going to be old parents. We're going to be experienced parents. We're going to know better how to care, how to love, how to raise. The boys are going to think it's strange at first. They're going to think it's strange, and then they're going to love it. Miguel and Gabriel have always wanted a younger sibling. Now they're going to have one. Lou hugs me tight, and I feel life pulsing inside her once again. At her 45 years and my almost 60, we're going to be parents again. We're going to restart the cycle, see a child born, taking their first steps, saying their first words. "Lou," I say, still hugging her. Thank you for continuing to surprise me, for continuing to fill my life with novelty, with joy, with future. Thank you for still wanting to build a future with me. We return to the party holding hands. The party continues in the yard, but now it has a new meaning. It's not just a celebration of 16 years of marriage. It's a celebration of a family that continues to grow, of a love that doesn't age, of a story that still has many chapters to write. Everyone, Gabriel shouts, seeing us return. Speech, speech. Everyone claps, asking me to say something. I climb on a chair, kind of shy, looking at the friendly faces that have accompanied us for so many years. Well, I begin, kind of tremulous. I'm not a man of many words, but just say it, old man. Gabriel interrupts, eliciting laughter from everyone. 16 years ago, I was a lonely man, without purpose, thinking that life had ended. Then Lou arrived, brought Miguel, and everything changed. They taught me that family isn't just blood, it's choice, it's care, it's love that we build every day. I stopped to look at my sons, at my wife, at the friends who are a chosen family. Today we're a big family, happy with deep roots and branches that spread, and I look at Lou, who signals for me to tell, and we're going to grow a little more yet. Total silence for 2 seconds. How so? Mrs. Henderson asks. Lou is pregnant again. The yard explodes in shouts of joy, applause, hugs. The boys are open-mouthed, processing the information. Then Miguel smiles and goes to hug his mother. Gabriel jumps and shouts, I'm going to be a big brother. Finally! The party continues until late, now with double the reason to celebrate. When everyone leaves and the children go to sleep, I sit on the porch with Lou. And now? She asks. Now we continue doing what we always did, taking care of each other, raising our children with love, building the future day by day, with another baby in the family, with another baby in the family. We are silent, watching the stars shine in the clear sky. Inside, Miguel and Gabriel sleep, dreaming of the future that is coming. And there in Lou's arms, another child of ours begins to grow. Lou, I said softly. Remember that day we met? When you found me by the creek? I remember like it was yesterday. If someone had told me that day that 15 years later I would be here, married to you, father of 3 children, owner of this house, I would have thought the person was crazy. And if someone had told me that a 45-year-old man, widower without hope, was going to become the father of 3 children and the husband of the most wonderful woman in the world, I wouldn't have believed it either. Life is funny, isn't it? Life is miraculous. I look at the woman beside me, pregnant at 45, still beautiful, still strong, still full of dreams. I look at the house full of life, at the yard where our children played for years, at the pastures that prospered along with our family. I think of everything that has passed, the scares, the fears, the joys, the discoveries, the nights awake with the baby crying, the afternoons playing in the yard, the Sundays of celebration with the family gathered. I think of what is still to come. Another child growing, the boys graduating and following their lives, grandchildren arriving, hair turning white, wrinkles appearing, but love continuing. Lou, I say, speak. I love you. I love you too. I love our family. Me too. And I love this life that we built. This life that we continue building. Yes, we continue building every day, every month, every year. Adding brick upon brick, love upon love, memory upon memory. Building a story that will pass to our children, to our children's children, to the generations that are yet to come. A story that began on a dry morning, with a lonely farmer finding a pregnant girl by the creek. A story that became a family, that became a home, that became multiplied love. That night before sleeping, I go take a look at the boys. Miguel sleeps peacefully, breathing slowly, dreaming of the future that is coming. Gabriel sleeps hugging his guitar, always ready to make music wherever he is. And there in Lou's womb, another child begins to form. Another life that will be born in this house, that will grow up in this family, that will learn that love is the only thing that multiplies when you divide it. I lie down in bed next to Lou, putting my hand on her belly that doesn't show yet, but that already carries the future. She puts her hand over mine, and we stay like that, the two connected with the life that is beginning. "John," she whispers in the dark. Thank you for having saved me that day. Thank you for having saved me too." We saved each other, and we continue to save each other every day. I fall asleep thinking about the morning that is coming. Another day of the life we built together. Another day of family, of love, of future being planted. And for the first time in many years, I sleep dreaming not of the past that is gone, but of the future that is yet to come. Because our story hasn't ended. Our story continues. With each day, with each child, with each moment of shared love. It continues like the rain that returns every year, bringing new life to the dry earth. It continues like the sun that rises every morning, promising a day better than the previous one. It continues like the love we planted, and that grows beyond any expectation, beyond any deserving, beyond any comprehension. Our love continues, our family continues, our story continues, and it will continue until the day God decides it's time to rest. But even then, it will continue in the children we raise, in the values we plant, in the love we teach. Because some things never die. True love is one of them. The family built with care is another. And the hope that there's always time to start again. There's always a chance to be happy. There's always a possibility of finding who needs us as much as we need someone. That is the greatest of all.